Hi, good evening. I'm DuEwa Frazier, and I'm here with a new episode of Afrofutures Pod. And this is my podcast where I go live and interview either audio or video my special guests, featured poets and writers, and definitely scholars who are a part of my latest book, Introduction to Afrofuturism, a mixtape in Black literature and arts, published by Routledge, which was released in August. And tonight, my special guest is a wonderful poet, Zorina, in tonight to talk about her work and, of course, share some of her beautiful poems with us. And so I just invited Zorina to join in now. And there she is. Greetings, Zorina. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Okay, good. So I can see you and hear you clearly. That's like half of it when you get on Instagram.
I know, right?
No tech issues, fingers crossed. Well, thank you so much for joining me here on Afrofutures Pod. And I would like to read your wonderful bio for the audience and the people who are listening tonight. Zorina Exie Frey is a publishing content writer, spoken word poet, and Pushcart Prize Winner for her poem published in Glassworks Magazine. Her writings are featured in Shondaland, Shoutout Miami, Chicken Soup for the Soul, I'm Speaking Now, and, of course, Introduction to Afrofuturism, a mixtape in Black literature and arts. Zorina teaches English and ESL in Maryland. She is a Palm Beach Poetry Festival Langston Hughes Fellow and Martha's Vineyard Institute of Creative Writing Voices of Color Fellow. Her screenplay, Harley Quinn Origin, received an honorable mention at the Birmingham Film Festival in the United Kingdom. And she was a semi-finalist for the reality TV pilot, America's Next Great Author. Zorina has taught poetry workshops at the National Association for Poetry Therapy Conference, the Maryland Writers Association Conference, and the South Florida Writers Association. Zorina has presented academic papers at Chesapeake College, the National Council of Black Studies, the International Conference on Poetry Studies, and Furious Flower Conference. Learn more about Zorina Exie Frey by visiting her website at zorinafrey.com. Wow, that is amazing. Yes, we have a guest. Max Venus 2222 says Zorina rocks. Yes, she does.
Hey, Maxine.
Thank you. So, Zorina, I just want to congratulate you on all of your recent accolades and awards. You're extremely active in the writing community, and I'm so grateful to have met you and networked with you some time ago. And now that your poetry is in the latest anthology in the volume here, Introduction to Afrofuturism, which I'll show for our audience. And just want to first talk about, before we segue into more of your work, your inspiration in that, that you finding your work, finding a home, so to speak, one home. You have many poetic homes, according to your bio. But that you felt a connection somehow with the themes and the focus for this edited volume, and just want to hear about that as far as your poetry.
Yeah, so my master's thesis is on Afro-pessimism.
Okay.
And so there isn't much out there about Afro-pessimism, but there is plenty out there about Afrofuturism. And that's because as a people of color, we want to look into the future and imagine a better space and opportunity for us. But what doesn't seem to what we and it's kind of difficult to just kind of assume when I say we, right? I just in general, right? I can't possibly speak for an entire population. But what we don't seem to do, which there isn't a lot of, is talking about the present, the situation now. We also like to talk about what happened in the past a lot as well. This is what happened to us, this is our history, rightfully so, but like we go from there and then we go straight
to the
to
future.
right, not wanting to deal with the present. And
Right.
it's something that our ancestors, um, they dealt with Afro-pessimism. They knew exactly what their situation was, and had to deal accordingly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think this present day time is definitely an opportunity to really delve into Afro-pessimism, to just look at our present and work through that, because it's not just uh, people from the African American descent that is actually um, looking at, where do we go from here now? How do we work through this particular time, this odd time, this paradigm shift? So, um, so I think that Afro-pessimism can also apply to other people as well. They can relate as well. But that is what drew me to this, because there needs to be
Okay.
a space, because see, it's the other side of the coin.
Right. Well, thank you so much, and just thrilled to have your work. And you have your chapter has a few poems in it just that are just very good and just very emotional and very powerful. Definitely myself as a lover of hip hop and thinking about hip hop's place
Mm-hmm.
in Afrofuturism. That my chapter was on, but looking at your work, I Heart Music, Hip Hop is Dead, Long Live Hip Hop. And there have been a lot of questions about, is hip hop dead? Or at least this space that we've been in culturally, where is this going? Like,
What?
it's like,
Yes.
okay, I can barely even understand them, let alone like what is the message that's moving the culture forward? Like
Mm-hmm.
we were used to that. What happened to that?
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate, and then, your poem, I'm a Black man wearing the stars and stripes. What don't I understand? I'm like, wow, the title alone blows you away. So
I
just,
can't take
really wanting
credit
to,
for that though.
okay.
I can. That's a line straight out of the Marvel, the Winter
Okay.
Soldier,
The
and yeah,
Falcon and Winter Soldier. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm. But it really speaks to, I would say, just recent years and even time past before we were even here
Mm-hmm.
about the Black man and the Black people in a space where there is, obvious oppression and just not wanting to acknowledge a person's value. And but that's just, one small bit of it. There's so much. Um,
Yeah, that that piece is a prime example of where Afro-pessimism meets Afrofuturism, because Afro futurism is the foundation. We're talking about a superhero, a Black superhero, and he's talking about, just even though he is this, he saved the world, right? He's still in this space where if he's not suited up, then he is just considered an other, right?
mm,
That's why I love Marvel, man. They're not afraid to
to,
to to
to go
talk
there.
about those subjects. Yes.
And so, Zorina, would you say that your work kind of um, is between or bridging that thought of, Afrofuturism and Afro-pessimism?
Hmm. Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And would you mind reading your work for us and just kind of discuss the point, like the meaning from your standpoint as the
Hmm.
writer, as the poet? And then, we'll certainly want to, move forward.
Okay. So I'll start with the first one that, and you did a lovely job with the editing
Oh,
and the
thank you so
spread on this.
much. It was
Congratulations
it
to you.
was it was a project.
I
I'll just
see
say that.
that. I see that. I mean, and just the context alone, I mean, that your mind had to have just been weighed with a lot
Yeah, and
of.
that's why I was hoping, I just wanted, like, if I couldn't get back to you all right away or I couldn't give certain details, it's just, it was a lot. And then you have daily life going on, you have work going on, but you still want to meet your deadlines and you still want to make sure that this is top tier. So
Yeah.
anybody who knows, editing, and it's not just your work, it really, there's a lot of love and a lot of hard work that goes into it for sure, because you want it to be meaningful and you want it to be right, the final product.
Yeah, and this is not just any publication. So, again, it's just an honor to be among so many gifted poets and writers. It's thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. That means a lot.
Well, I guess with that, I'll just start with I Heart Music. Hip hop is dead. Long live hip hop. And this is a Sonia Sanchez epigraph. Who's gonna give our young Black people new heroes? From shucking sugarcane, picking cotton, moaning gospel, to shucking, jiving, praising false apostles. Mercy. Listening to wrong way encryptions, subliminal crossing guards, emptying plague messages. It pays more to write about titties and coochie, excuse me, corpulent mounds of areola peaks, dewy cavernous dungeons, men and women seek, an expedition to the moon, stars, the garden, to Eden. Where was I? Paradise. Almost forgot I'm black lightning, reflecting glory like cotton, popping from burlap bags, seeding into dark soil, escaping ships into black Neptune, supernova, shimmering. My brothers and sisters lamenting me into deep blue, carrying this new sound onto East Coast shores. I tread lightly over seas, into earth, to hide, to die, to live, to shine. Against the blackest of night, when the sun folds over and darkness takes over, you'll see the cacophony music execs wash up, playing themselves salty, dead air, appropriating a legacy built in the bowels of dark funk, soul, and deep, wetty blues.
Wow. Beautiful. Let's give snaps. Just the
Um,
imagery in this poem, the imagery, the tone, it's just so beautiful. I
I
mean, I can, yes.
yeah, yeah. I just yeah, what can I this was workshopped. This is part of my master's creative thesis,
Wow.
and that's waiting to get published too at some
And
point.
it will,
But
definitely, it will, Zorina. I was going to ask you, was this a part of a larger work? And did you
mhm,
see yourself writing a series, especially with, I mean, Mama Sanchez, Dr. Sanchez? I mean, you can't go wrong with her. She's just, she's one of the mothers.
yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it was between, after reading her work, about new heroes, and then we were just in the midst of, and I'm like a superhero junkie anyway. And so, and this was around the time like the Winter Soldier was
mhm.
out, and I'm like, all of these things were going on in my head, and um, and I had to just write it out. And also what was going on at the same time was just, I mean, always that just doesn't stop is just what is just, how hip hop has just been raped, like
Yeah.
it's just, it really has. And what's going on with that. I'd read another poem too that I can't remember which one it was, but it was talking. I was in that space. I think it was Elizabeth Alexander, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she was talking about the blues, where music came from, and how there's just not quite the sound that African American music contributes to just the spectrum of music. There's just no other sound like it. And so when you think of funk and soul, those sounds that must have been going on in the bowels of those ships as they whew, as they crossed the
That's
Atlantic.
right.
Our ancestors,
Right.
our ancestors.
What they brought with
Mhm.
them is, it just changed the world.
It really
It
did.
created culture in so many ways. I appreciate you saying that.
You know, it, it's
Sometimes, hmm?
you think. I mean, I think I wish I should have had it set ready. The Elizabeth
Oh
Alexander,
no,
but that's her.
that's
It's her.
okay. So
But
so then maybe we can get you on another podcast and do
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Like, yeah,
yeah.
that's
I
fine.
yeah, but yeah, she talked about just the who gave it that sound,
Mm,
who was the one who made that sound, because you think of, I mean, they're laying in there, I mean, let's just get real with it, and they're laying, our ancestors are laying in the bowels
yeah,
next to bodies that have expired. They're hurting, they're in pain, and the moaning and the groaning, like that's the blues, that's
yeah,
the funk, that's
and
the stuff that just
right,
can't no other. You hear, it's like, when you hear black music, right?
yeah, and
And
then
then
but how our ancestors transformed that experience
hmm
for the ones who survived and made it, and then came to this
hmm
land, and whether they came to the Caribbean or whether they came to America, or because we
yep
know they went to different parts, like
hmm
how they transformed
that sound.
what would be something that would normally end a person,
hmm
but yet they created beauty and art from that over the course of hundreds of years. And
yeah
giving us jazz, as you mentioned, blues, and giving us jazz, and giving us just a foundation for our music, Negro spirituals,
hmm
and gospel, the Black church. I mean, so much grew from, quite frankly, just a terrible, terrible journey and
hmm
situation that no one should have to go through. But the transformation is what I'm seeing and I'm feeling about that
hmm
for our ancestors.
yeah. Yeah, and so when we go to the turn of the poem, uh, when I go into the cacophony that music execs wash up, playing
Mm,
themselves salty,
yeah,
a dead air appropriating a legacy built on the boughs of dark funk, soul, and deep wetty blues. Like, this is, you hear the earlier songs of, I mean, I see you on the gram jamming with the jamming hip hop, so I know you're a hip hop head. So,
oh,
you
I
know,
am. True, and I would do a lot more probably, but I try to get that in anytime I can. Yeah.
I mean, it's therapeutic, right? Because it's a type of preaching, like Jam Master Flash, I still play that "Don't Push Me" because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. You know, it's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. Like that is like hip hop, right? That's telling the story. There is no story. If anything, it's misogyny. It's, you know, it's not even words fully formed words.
And from what I hear, you know, and from what I hear, and I'll just say here because I don't have a particular source in front of me to quote, but from what I have heard over recent years, is that there is a reward for artists today to be as negative and as toxic as they can in these lyrics, to not be uplifting, to do the opposite of what hip hop was founded upon. And as you mentioned, these music execs, I mean, so many people say the music industry is gone anyway. You know, you have so many artists today of all genres that are choosing to be independent. They don't want to be in a situation, a contract that's going to really kill their artistry, and really, you know, mess with their minds, their souls, their creativity. So I appreciate for the artists who are able to kind of see a different pathway that they've chosen, you know, to really preserve the art. But it's unfortunate, you know, what has happened.
Yeah. I mean, you touch on Afro-pessimism there. I mean, it goes way beyond just music.
Yeah.
It's just honestly a way of life, really. You know, you are rewarded in life if you subscribe on any level to some level of oppression. And that's the dichotomy that we as displaced people live in. We're in a, you know, we're in a continent where in order to be successful, there has to be a part of ourselves that we have to
compromise, to compromise yourself. It just makes me wonder if you have a 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old going into this industry, if you will, do they know who they are to begin with? So if you do not know who you are, then it is easy for someone to tell you who you are, tell you who you need to be, and then tell you what the message that should come from your work to the masses to, you know, basically bring the culture down. I just don't know any other words to use.
Yeah, well, you know, or, you know, to, you know, control the narrative, if anything, you know. But it's no, it's my train of thought. I really had something.
No.
I had bookmarked my head.
You were there because we were talking about, so you touched on hip hop. And so we went in, you know, we went in a little deeper with the whole, you know, where it's at today. And you were talking about the message that's still very much relatable and needed and feeling. Yeah, that's what you were talking about.
Well, the thing that I was going to go on to just like, you know, bring the indictment in is that, you know, even though myself, because it's like, you know, when you judge, you have to really judge yourself too. So it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, what would you do? Like if you are going to bed hungry, or if you need a mortgage paid off, of, you know, you got family who needs help.
That's real.
Like, you know, like what are you going to do? Like if someone came to me and said, you know what, I really like what you wrote. Like this is a real thing that I have to think about. Like how much of myself am I willing to compromise in order to make sure that my not only me, but my family, my, you know, generation is okay. But to what expense? You know, how is that,
to what extent?
You know, to the culture. So now you have to weigh the pros and cons, you know? And I think that's what everybody's doing. And I kind of touch on that in the Black Men Wearing Stars and Stripes too, because I call out a couple of hip hop heads who, you know, may have very well contributed a lot more than I ever could at this point, to the culture.
Yeah.
But yet they may have done, more damage as well, like equal parts damage. So I guess with that, I guess I'll just go ahead and
Yeah.
read.
Yeah.
Since,
No, sure. Thank you for that.
So this is I'm a Black man wearing the stars and stripes. What don't I understand? The epigraph here is me giving credit to the title, which is Sam Wilson's character as Captain America and Marvel's the Falcon and Winter Soldier. So this is his voice. This is him talking. I know, but I don't know. If you had the means to make things right by wearing a symbol plotted to oppress you, what would you do? I'm selling out to break this invisible jail cell. I'm feeling less than flowers labeled as weeds and placed in a battlefield soon to become cemetery. I know, but I didn't know I was a special type of kingly, queening sapient walking on hot sand, nostrils flaring, inhaling, mother sweating, equator rising, indignant because somehow I ruled wrong. It came undone. Passing folly down my bloodline will never truly know why we're oppressed with unrest, a foot on our necks, from low-key pacts to keep from assembling, to avenge and build another pyramid or sphinx, unless a spiritual chain is tethered to ego. We know, but we really don't know our blood. Our dreams give us a glimpse of who we are when we're brave enough to see. I fly high in a cage, an illusion of sky, this bubble, sphere, earthing under the weight of gravity, compressed by laws and spoken words. I know about Judas' blood, easily infiltrated when we assemble, a wild bill to a Black Panther party, an Adolf to an assembly, drug dealer to a community, whites black-facing protests without tactical gear. I read about St. Peter's Rock, faithful until 20s, crows cocked. Yay, Wayne, Mr. Jackson, do you know? Are you undercover? Waiting for something to wake deep enough to call into foundations to break? Go in shame and glory, maybe honor, peacefully if we're lucky. I don't know, but I do know we are stars, bleeding stripes, unribboning, and present tense time.
Wow.
Mm.
So much in
I
this
do
poem.
love poetry.
Yes, yes, and you are great. You are a great, great poet. I see this being in a series. I see two different series for each of these poems.
I mean, this was, I think, for those who don't know, Sam Wilson was a Black superhero. He was the sidekick. It always seems to be okay to be a sidekick to Captain America, a white man who is, just like a sexy Uncle Sam, you can say. And and this is all fictitious, of course, but once Captain America moved up, passed away, I guess. He went somewhere. He just was no longer around. He passed the mantle to his friend, and Sam, which is what the Falcon and the Winter Soldier is about. And he talks about, and he doesn't take the mantle because he knows that a lot of people, 50% of America would be upset if a Black man took on the stars and the mantle of Captain America.
Right.
And so so this is, and to me, this is like, well, this could be, I have a nephew, a couple of nephews who are serving, who have served.
Okay.
veterans, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I can only imagine that, you know, they have to be conflicted in this way somehow. I mean, you can't be a person of color and not be in this type of space and not hear um, just the drips of colonialism, you know,
Sure.
in that. And, you know, no matter how you, no matter, you know, how you slice it, or even if you have the grace to walk in it
Yeah.
very well, you know, your ancestors are not going to let you not see
Wow.
that, right? So, the blood of your ancestors, I should say. Um, Even if you don't know, there's something in you that does
That
know,
does.
right? And that's the, you know.
And that's what I was going to ask you about when you say we
Mm,
know, but
mm-hmm,
we really don't know our blood.
mm,
That is so deep. It's like we're all walking around carrying it.
mm-hmm,
It's in there. You
mm-hmm,
you may not know to the extent that it's like talking to you at every second of the day, but
mm.
it's there, you
It's no,
know.
yeah, it's no different than how, you know, substance abuse is passed on to, you know, throughout someone's bloodline,
Mm,
or some type of chronic illness. We're just now, uh, you know, the whole mental health thing is really, you know, it's a real thing. And I think it's we're on, you know, we're on the precipice of it probably just being overdone because of 2020, and
right.
everyone's talking about mental health, right? And now it's to the point where it probably doesn't even, it's not gonna mean anything, you know, if we keep, you know, hashing it. But it is a real thing, you know. And so that's what I touch on here, where it's just, you know, but you don't know. um I go into my Christian background with Judas. And I didn't really, you know, I worked, this was workshop, so I wasn't sure if I'd be able to get away with it, because not everybody's going to understand what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
You know, especially with poetry. But, you know, I touch in with Judas's blood because, you know, most people know about Judas being you know,
Turncoat,
betraying people. Yeah,
right.
exactly. But I also touch on Wild Bill to a Black Panther Party, because as the story goes, or what I've read and watched, is that, you know, Wild Bill was a Black man who, you know, just kind of infiltrated, just also a turncoat.
Yeah.
And then also aid off to an assembly, because I've also read and had discussions about Adolf actually being a Jewish person himself.
Mm,
And, and but yet still, I mean, if you look at them,
right.
you know, so these type of things about just these infiltrations, right, into one's own community. And then we go a little bit into what's a little bit more current, which is drug dealer to a community. And then when I wrote White's Black Facing Protests Without Tactical Gear, of course, that's 2020, you know.
Yeah.
So